It's our stories. Welcome to a world where real stories sounds like a movie script.
Hi again, everyone. I wasn't sure I could continue talking about this, but here I am. If anything, sharing it out loud helps me process the chaos of the past few weeks. Picking up from where I left off, the days after that first conversation with Sarah were surreal. The morning after she asked me about her colleague, I woke up with a heaviness in my chest I couldn't shake. The apartment felt colder, quieter, almost hostile in its familiarity. I went through our morning routines mechanically. Coffee, breakfast, packing lunch for work, while she moved around me as if nothing had happened. Every smile felt calculated, every touch distant. It was like living with a stranger I once loved. At work, I couldn't focus. Emails blurred together, phone calls felt like noise, and every notification made my stomach tighten. I tried to act normal, but I knew something in me had shifted. I started thinking about the small signs I might have missed, the way she sometimes lingered over her phone, the subtle flirtations I'd brushed off as harmless. Was I blind? Or was she just good at hiding this part of herself? By the end of that week, I could no longer ignore the gnawing suspicion. I took a deep breath and asked to see her messages. Not in a confrontational way, at least I tried not to, but I needed to know the truth. And when I did, it confirmed everything I feared. The messages weren't just casual chat, they were intimate, playful, and charged in a way that made my stomach twist. She was sharing thoughts, desires, and fantasies with someone else, someone I couldn't compete with. That night, I confronted her again. Her initial reaction was denial, eyes wide, voice defensive. But after a while, the truth came out. They had been communicating for weeks, flirting, teasing, sharing things that had nothing to do with me. She claimed nothing physical had happened, but the level of intimacy in her words told me otherwise. My heart ached, not just for the betrayal, but for the fact that I had never seen this side of her before. And then came the request, the impossible request. "I need to meet him," she said softly. "Just once." I remember the moment clearly. I was sitting on the couch, staring at her, trying to find any trace of the woman I married in her eyes. But there was nothing. This was someone else entirely, and with those words, the ground beneath me shifted. The world I had built with her, the trust, the comfort, the routines, all seemed to crumble in an instant. She tried to soften it with a compromise. I could have a free pass too, anyone I wanted, but I didn't want that. I wanted her. I told her no, and she rolled her eyes, frustrated. "Then it wouldn't be fair," she said. And that's when the real emotional spiral began. I felt trapped, powerless, and humiliated. How could someone I loved so deeply ask for something like this? How could they dismiss my feelings so casually? I started replaying our entire relationship in my mind, searching for clues, for warnings, for anything that could explain this sudden change. But there were none. Or maybe I just hadn't seen them. The next few days were unbearable. I oscillated between anger, sorrow, disbelief, and longing. I wanted to confront her, to yell, to cry, to demand answers. But part of me also wanted to retreat, to hide from the pain, to pretend it wasn't happening. I spent hours alone in our apartment, walking from room to room, unable to focus on anything. Even simple tasks felt monumental. Making coffee, checking emails, washing dishes, everything was tinged with dread. Finally, I decided I needed a plan. I needed boundaries, clarity, and some sense of control in a situation that felt completely out of my hands. I sat down with her that evening, trying to speak calmly, rationally. "Sarah, I need to understand this," I said. "I need to know why you feel the need to do this and how you see our marriage surviving it." Her response surprised me. She didn't back down. She didn't apologize. She explained matter-of-factly that she was curious, that the guy at work was attractive, that she had never had this opportunity before. She promised it wouldn't be emotional, that it would be just physical, and that it would be a one-time thing. "But why?" I asked, voice breaking. "Why can't you want this only with me?" She shrugged, her expression frustratingly casual. "I love you, Alex. I do. But this is just something I want to experience. It doesn't change what we have. I tried to process it, to negotiate boundaries. I asked her to at least let me meet him first, to ensure some safety, some transparency. She agreed, though I could tell she saw it as an unnecessary step, a small inconvenience in her mind. That night, we had sex, and it was complicated. Passionate, yes, but overshadowed by the knowledge of what she was planning. I could feel my love and desire tangled with betrayal and anger, and yet I stayed, because leaving felt like surrendering, and I wasn't ready to do that. Over the next weekend, she went to meet him. She was gone all day, and when she came back, she was different. She smiled, laughed, told me about it casually, like sharing a story about a coworker at lunch. My chest tightened again. I realized then that she had changed, at least temporarily, into someone I didn't recognize, someone who could separate love from intimacy in a way I couldn't. I asked about boundaries. She brushed them off. She insisted that I had no right to dictate her actions, that as adults we could choose what to do. Her words stung, but I tried to keep calm. I wanted to understand, to negotiate, to salvage what we could of our marriage. But the more she justified it, the more I felt my sense of control slip away. Weeks passed. Each weekend she was gone. Each time, I felt the sting of betrayal deepen. And then came the day when I realized that she wasn't stopping at just him. She had brought over a friend once, and I found out about it only after the fact. I felt humiliated, powerless, and most devastatingly, unloved. The woman I thought I knew was gone. I reached my breaking point one Saturday morning. She left without even saying goodbye properly, sending pictures to him before even kissing me. The night ended with me sitting alone in the apartment, feeling smaller than I ever had. That's when I realized that this wasn't a temporary curiosity. This was manipulation, control, and betrayal wrapped in a veneer of love that I could no longer trust. I left. I went to my brother's apartment for a few days, needing space, needing support, needing perspective. He listened, didn't judge, just let me vent. For the first time, I felt a fraction of relief, knowing someone else understood the weight of what was happening. During that time, I reached out to a divorce attorney. Initial consultations were surreal. I had never imagined I'd be here, talking about ending a marriage because of betrayal I didn't even see coming. But the attorney was professional, reassuring, and practical. He explained what I needed to do, how to document everything, and what to expect. The shock slowly turned into a sort of clarity. I also talked to my parents. That was harder than I imagined. I didn't want to betray Sarah, but I needed support. And I knew that if she told them her version first, it could all turn against me. The conversation was emotional. Tears, disbelief, hugs. My parents were shocked, but they believed me. They understood that love doesn't mean losing yourself, and that sometimes protecting yourself means making impossible decisions. When I returned to the apartment, Sarah tried to confront me, to manipulate me into staying, to make me feel guilty. I ignored her, let her words wash over me, detached. She left eventually, and I realized that the person I loved, or thought I loved, no longer existed in the way I knew her. The marriage, the intimacy, the trust, all of it had eroded. Since then, she has sent messages, tried to explain, apologize, manipulate, guilt trip. But I've learned to pause, breathe, and remind myself that this is about me, about my life, my heart, my sense of safety. I still love her. I always will in some way. But love alone isn't enough when trust is destroyed this completely. So here I am, talking to you, processing it piece by piece. I've learned something crucial, that love doesn't justify betrayal, and that sometimes the hardest choice is the one that protects your own heart. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if reconciliation is possible. But I do know I have to stand firm, protect myself, and rebuild my life on my own terms. After I left to stay with my brother, a strange mix of relief and emptiness washed over me. Relief because I was no longer trapped in a situation I couldn't control, and emptiness because the reality was sinking in. My marriage, the life I had imagined with Sarah, had shifted irreversibly. That first night at my brother's apartment, I just sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything from that initial conversation where she asked if I would sleep with someone else. I tried to analyze it, rationalize it, understand where it all went wrong. But no matter how much I thought, it didn't make sense. Not logically, not emotionally. The next morning, I received a string of messages from Sarah. She said she missed me, that she couldn't understand why I left, and that she felt horrible about hurting me. I read the messages over and over, feeling a twinge of guilt mixed with my anger. Part of me wanted to reply, to tell her everything I felt, but I didn't. I knew any response would only open the door to manipulation, to guilt-tripping, and I wasn't ready for that. I spent that day talking with my brother, trying to make sense of the situation. He had always been a grounding presence in my life, someone who could look at things objectively. He told me that what she was doing wasn't just curiosity or experimentation. It was a blatant disregard for my feelings and boundaries. His words, though painful, felt like a validation of what I had been sensing all along. Later, I decided it was time to take concrete steps. I scheduled an initial consultation with a divorce attorney. Sitting in that office, filling out forms and discussing the evidence I had, the texts, the messages, the photos, made everything painfully real. It wasn't just emotional distress anymore, it was legal, formal, irreversible. The attorney explained how important it was to document everything, to maintain a record of her behavior and manipulation, and to approach the situation strategically. When I left the attorney's office, I felt a strange mix of empowerment and sorrow. I had taken the first steps toward protecting myself, but the emotional toll was immense. I realized that this wasn't just about betrayal, it was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, my sense of self. Returning home, I knew I had to confront the day-to-day reality of living in the same space as someone who had hurt me so profoundly. Sarah was still there, moving around the apartment as if nothing had happened. Her casual demeanor, her smiles, her attempts at conversation, they all felt like needles to the heart. I tried to remain detached, focused on myself, and maintain my boundaries. But the tension was unbearable. Every glance felt loaded, every word a potential manipulation. One evening, she approached me, asking if we could talk about boundaries. I was hesitant. The last time I had tried, it had ended with her dismissing my feelings and insisting that, as adults, we could do whatever we wanted. But I agreed to sit down, hoping that maybe this time there could be some clarity. "Alex, I just want to make sure we're okay," she said. "I don't want to hurt you." I looked at her, my chest tight, eyes searching for the woman I once knew. "Sarah, I need clarity. I need rules. I need boundaries. I can't continue like this, not knowing what you're going to do, not knowing if you'll come home at night, not knowing if my feelings even matter," I said, my voice steady but firm. She hesitated, then finally spoke. "I understand, but you have to know, Alex, I can't promise anything. I can't stop wanting to explore this, but I do love you. I promise I'm not leaving you." Her words felt like a cruel joke. How could she say she loved me while planning encounters with someone else? How could love exist alongside such blatant betrayal? My mind raced, trying to reconcile the woman I loved with the person in front of me. Over the next few weeks, the pattern continued. She would leave for the weekend, meet him, and come back with stories that were casual, almost proud. She would smile, laugh, and act as if nothing had happened, expecting me to absorb it without breaking. And I tried. I truly did. I tried to convince myself that this was a phase, that maybe I could tolerate it, that love alone could override betrayal. But every weekend, every story, every casual detail of what she did and who she was with felt like a hammer to my heart. Then came the weekend that broke me entirely. She left on a Saturday morning, instructing me to take photos of her to send to him before she even kissed me goodbye. My hands shook as I complied, a part of me numb with disbelief. That night, she didn't come back. The next morning, she admitted she had decided to stay the night with him, and not just him. He had invited a friend over, and she had engaged with both of them. She didn't see why this was a problem. She laughed when I tried to express my pain, saying I needed to get over it, and that my reaction wasn't manly. That was the turning point. I realized then that the person I loved, my wife, had fundamentally changed. No amount of love, loyalty, or patience could bridge the gap between us now. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was manipulative, cruel, and deliberate. She had crossed a line I couldn't forgive or ignore. I packed a bag and left, heading back to my brother's apartment. I needed distance, clarity, and support. My brother listened as I poured out my heartbreak, my anger, my confusion. He didn't judge, he just let me speak. And in those hours, I began to see a path forward. I began to realize that staying in this marriage under these conditions was no longer an option. I contacted a divorce attorney again, this time to move forward with more serious steps. The attorney explained the importance of documenting everything, from messages to photos, to demonstrate the manipulation and disregard for my boundaries. It was painful to go through it, but it felt necessary. I had to protect myself. Next, I knew I had to inform my parents. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I didn't want to betray Sarah, but I also knew that if she told them first, everything could turn against me. Sitting in their living room, trying to explain the depth of her manipulation and betrayal, I saw shock, disbelief, and eventually support. My parents understood that this wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting myself, about taking care of my emotional and mental well-being. Returning home, I faced Sarah one final time before taking the next legal steps. She tried to manipulate, to guilt trip, to regain control, but I had changed. I was no longer the man who would sit quietly while my trust and love were disregarded. I stood firm, asserted my boundaries, and made it clear that the marriage could not continue under the circumstances she had created. Since then, she has sent messages, apologies, and explanations. But I've learned to maintain distance, to prioritize my well-being, and to understand that love alone cannot repair betrayal of this magnitude. I still feel pain, and I still feel love, but I also feel clarity, strength, and a commitment to myself that I didn't fully recognize before. This entire experience has been a brutal lesson in trust, love, and self-respect. I wanted to share it here because I know many of you might be facing challenges in relationships, moments where love is tested in unimaginable ways. I want to remind you and myself that protecting your heart, setting boundaries, and standing firm in your values is not selfish. It's necessary. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if reconciliation is possible or if I will ever forgive completely. But I do know that I am stronger than I realized. I can navigate this pain and I can rebuild my life with dignity and self-respect. Thank you for listening, for letting me share my story. And if you're watching this and going through something similar, remember, you deserve love, loyalty, and respect. Anything less is not enough. Thank you for staying with me until the end. How would you have acted in the protagonist's place? Write your thoughts in the comments. More fresh and controversial stories every day on my profile. Like and subscribe to this channel.